saw a monster ruby waves at the Alpine Valley. If you've ever listened to the fish from Vermont and you kind of like their stuff, dial up this July ruby waves. The whole official video's on the YouTubes. It's pretty cool. Now, in the spirit of crazy experimenting with no chance for reproducing the results, I bring you this video. What we're doing today is I made the Kveiking Blend, which I have a video on that. That's the Imperial Yeast Summer Seasonal Kveiking Blend beer. Came out great. I washed the yeast, but I know that with Kveik yeast, you normally wouldn't wash it. But I did wash it, and what I might have done is gotten not all of the strains. I think there's 3 strains, but what I have left in these quart jars is not a lot, but I have 2 of them, and I'm gonna hope that it's sufficient. If it's not sufficient after a day, I can dump in some more of the Sigmund Uranus strain, which I have plenty of a slurry of that. And I wanted to make a little bigger beer. I made 2 pale 1050 beers now for these Kveik strains, and I wanted to make it a little bigger. So today, 10 pounds raw 2-row, 3 pounds of Chevalier. I have all this Chevalier left, which is a richer British base malt. Wanted to use some of that, and then I only used like 56 grams, like 2 ounces of this Perla Negra, which is a dehusked grain to give it color, and that stuff made it probably, you can't really tell from there, but you'll see in the hydrometer, it actually made it, ooh, I think we might have got a little foggy, a little dark. I mean darkish, not dark. So the grain bill is, you know, not really a huge experiment. The yeast is kind of an experiment to see what happens with this washed version of this blend. The last thing is I'm using hops that I've never used. I got a bunch of different hops. I have 2 different kinds today, Callista and Ariana. Now the Ariana is 9.2%, so I did 1 ounce of that for bittering. And then maybe I'll get into the flavor descriptors of these later, as I don't have it in front of me, but they're very interesting hops, both of them. I'm going to do a little bit of a hop stand with 1 ounce of the Callista and another ounce of the Ariana. And we'll see how that goes. So yeah, it's we're rolling. I'm shooting for 1060-ish, which I think we'll get there. We will find out in a little bit. And I got my grains once again going to the, as I like to call her, the chicken lady. So yeah, we're doing good. Warm August day. Brian Adams' pig out is today, so some of you guys are there right now smoking some briskets. They're smoking a gator today. Fantastic. And I think maybe a pig as well. So lovely day. Let's get her rolling. Alright, for some funky beer, we got some funky music. If you've never heard of this Durando guy, check out that record. I think it's somewhat unknown, but pretty tight record. We're wrapping this up. This is the color. Like I was saying, it's a little bit darker. Here's sort of the beer, the 2 beers I'd been making. I wanted to make this one a little bit darker, and just 2 ounces of that Perla Negra high SRM malt made it like that much darker. I've decanted almost all of these quart jars. I combined them into one. So here is my wash version of the Imperial Yeast Kveiking Blend. There was a little bit of yeast in there, but we will see. Here's my backup plan. This is one of my jars of the slurry from the yeast from the Norwegian farmhouse, and you are only supposed to need a teaspoon of slurry in 5 gallons. So I have a lot of that stuff. That can be my backup plan, but it would be fun to see if this Imperial one can get the job done. So I got 5 gallons. It's about 95 Fahrenheit, which is, you know, fine for this strain. I think it goes up to 100. So we are just gonna get it sealed up, covered in blankets, bring it upstairs, and see if it takes off. So, an update on this. It is now a day and 8 hours or so after pitching. It's going just fine. However, I noticed it was actually bubbling within about 3 hours of pitching. The very small layer that I had at the bottom of those 2 quart jars, I decanted all that off, swirled them up, I combined them into 1 jar. I was kind of surprised and also pleased. So it started quickly, even with that apparently kind of smaller amount of yeast. It was plenty enough. So she's rocking and rolling. I just brewed this thing yesterday. It's chugging away. Let's take a look at it. If I can get this up. Ooh, look at in there. That looks real nice. Now I could have done this in a bucket and top cropped, but I kind of didn't think about it until now. Here's my new little toy. Somebody suggested it when I was saying, hey, I can't get a reading of my carboy because the thermometer goes there. And they're like, how about you get an infrared gun? And this thing was $15. And somebody else said it may not work as well on shiny surfaces, so put some tape on there. So that's what I get there, 84 Fahrenheit. And, you know, on the shiny surface, well, that is interesting. I'm not really an expert on using this, but that seems to be, whenever I've done it, it's been in the mid-80s. And 29C, there you go. So it's going pretty warm, and it will probably be done in a couple of days. I'm going out of town for 5-6 days, so I'll just let her rip and she'll get done, and we will see how it comes out.
Right.
Well,
because I think if you overwash it, you will lose.
Probably. Yeah, especially with the blend like that.
Shit.
You know what? That's a really good point, because the yeast that I fermented this with might not even be the same as the blend, because we were just talking about it. You might have lost one. You might have lost one.
Might have brushed the shoulder off of one of them strains, man.
I think that's Lauren Hill. Anyway, I washed it, and I think I have in the video. I haven't gone back and looked at the footage, but I know I did not have a lot of yeast that I actually managed to capture. That I pitched, I think, both of my little quart jars, like the little layers, into this beer, and it fermented fine. It was 1060 down to 1010, so it went fine. I believe it was in the mid-80s, I think. I got one of those infrared guns. I might have some footage of the temperature. I think it was in the mid-80s, I'm not sure. And I can't be bothered to go look because it's been a very busy weekend.
I like those guns, and Charlie does not, because they beep a lot. Charlie's not a fan of beeping.
I don't know if mine beeps.
Oh, it would be nice if there was a way to disable
I don't know if it actually beeps anyway, like I'm not sure. So here we are, Kveik IPA. So it was 1 ounce of Ariana
Grande
at 60 minutes. Then at flame out, 1 ounce of Callista, low alpha acid hop, 3% alpha acid, and then that was 15 minutes, and then it cooled down a little bit. Then I did another ounce of Ariana. So Ariana is, well, and Callista, but 1 ounce of each at the end for the aroma and a little bit of flavor, but then bitter with Ariana. So the notes on these hops are copious, especially the second one. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Black currants on the Ariana, peaches, pears, and tropical fruit notes. Also, grapefruit
and vanilla,
gooseberry, citrus and vanilla, and furthermore, woody tobacco, berry, citrus. Now, there is kind of a woody tobacco-y kind of note, and I wondered if that was maybe from the 2 meager ounces of Perla Negra, but that type of grain is not supposed to contribute a lot of flavor.
Without even reading it too, though, you got the blackberry, and I did too. It's kind of like a dark fruit, a tart berry fruit. But I also, the woody tobacco part, I kind of commented beforehand that it kind of reminds me of, like, it's not nearly as clear or crisp, but like a Kentucky Common or what might be called a dark cream ale. When they bring these darker malts into a softer pale beer, it gives off some of that, like, it's nowhere near a Munich, you know, it's not really crystallized and sugared, but it's a dark malt.
I don't know. I'm not super familiar with Kentucky Common and what would be in there. I mean, I know generally it's some kind of beer made with a steam beer yeast. But these hops got paired together mostly just because I had them, and I already had used a Sabro, or I was about to use the Sabro and another beer, so I had these beers. The Callista one says intense fruit flavors of passion fruit, apricot, peach, and blackberry, plus some pine.
But the Kveiking Blend, we didn't really get a lot of, like, pre-release or even release notes about what to expect. They talked more about temperatures that it can be used at.
From the yeast?
But yeah, they weren't like apricot or stone fruit or orange peel or dusty musty. So I'm thinking some of the sweetness, because this beer strikes me as fairly sweet considering that the numbers are very similar to the last one. And it should be even more bitter because there's more hops, and it still strikes me as sweet. So I think that yeast must have some characteristic of, like you said, fruits, or clearly they're not leaving true residual sugars, but maybe they leave a certain kind of sugar that you can taste.
From the yeast? Well, and like we said, this might not be the true blend anymore. I may have filtered out one or two of the three strains. Or maybe they are all in there. It doesn't have the unique, strong yeast character that the Kveiking Blend did with, I think I just used 10 pounds of raw pale or raw two-row.
You feel like you're just getting more malt and hop. There's not this, like, third layer.
There's more complex malt bill, that was on purpose, and more unique hops. I think I used a very neutrally hop, I forget what it was. It was one of the other ones that we got when he gave us these 4 different kinds of hops, but it was really a neutral hop just to have it have a tiny bit of bitterness. And
it's the one with the really, like, exotic kind of sounding name. I can't remember offhand, but I know what you're talking about. Watch you go back.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's called Sam.
I don't even look at my. I don't even have my phone. But anywhoosies, I think that this beer has a pretty good hop character. I think what I'm getting at is if you use these Kveik yeasts in this kind of a format, in a hop-forward beer, does it work? And if it works, is it because the yeast is contributing to the flavor and aroma? Or does it work almost accidentally that it can ferment warm and fast, but it actually just kind of stays out of the way of the hops? I mean, I think that brewers are just getting into using a lot of these strains. I think we're going to be swimming in these types of beers for probably a couple of years to come, I would.
A lot of breweries have talked about moving over to some of these strains as their house strain.
That's what I'm saying.
Having talked to people in Norway, Norwegians are kind of split, I think, on, like, that being exciting and that being worrisome.
Depressing, or?
No, just like how much of what's really coming out of the end result ties back to, like, 100 years, 1,000 years tradition of this thing, right?
Right.
But I mean,
it's
off camera,
I mean, it is sort of appropriating a traditional practice for a modern need or approach, I guess.
I'm not going that far, but I see. Yeah, that's kind of the point.
But there are people.
I can't think of another version though. I keep trying to think of, like, a comparison. Can you think of one? And it doesn't have to be beer.
I don't know. I mean, like, indigenous people that made a certain type of watercraft, or I mean, I don't know. Then they're like, oh, that's a good idea. Let's do that, and then make it a commercial scale, and then change it. I mean, or foodstuffs or whatever.
That's true.
Appropriate to, like Mexican food. I don't know. Certain types of things that were traditional, and now you go to Taco Bell and buy whatever. I don't know. But my point is, I think this beer might not be that different, and this would be a whole other thing you would have to go down. You'd have to get the Brewlosophy guys on this. Like if you made this exact beer with 1056, what is that? Can people identify the different beer in the triangle test?
I could say I feel like there's something sweet lingering though. Your low gravity doesn't seem like it would be this sweet. The hops, yeah, I mean there's tons of fruit descriptors, so I guess.
But it's got Chevalier, 3 pounds of Chevalier.
That's true. That Chevalier's it.
Well,
but so did the one we just had, but minus the Perla Negra, which is not supposed to be sweet. So again.
And that one. Oh wait, no. Oh, the Sabro.
Yeah.
Right, the Sabro. But that hop, I think, is really different.
Son of a bitch.
And it was a different yeast.
Too many variables.
Yeah. Anywho's.
I would say out of the 3 we've had, though, I do like the Sabro, so you should link that video up in the corner and be like, to see the Sabro.
Or it might not be out yet.
Future tagging.
Watch it. I think I'm going to call it just Sabro Kveik because it's the hop and it's the yeast and you can put it together. But yeah,
I'd almost like to see it like.
I've made like 4 of these beers now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've made 4 of these beers. 2 different yeast strains, 2 different times, and I'm hopefully gonna get a different strain from your slurry jar and make another one. And that one I might even make more of a straightforward one just to see what the Otterdal contributes. But yeah, it's fun. It's been really fun. It's been nice in the summer to not have to worry about temperatures. You know what also is nice? You don't have to cool it down as much.
Yep.
You don't have to cool it down to 65 Fahrenheit. You can cool it down to 95. And then you can pitch your yeast, and you can forget about it. And then you also don't have to aerate with pure oxygen like I usually do, because it doesn't matter, because the yeast just does its thing. You can underpitch. You can pitch.
I didn't know that was a part of it.
Well, if you have a regular kind of yeast, you want to do everything you can to make it work as properly as it can. You don't have to use pure oxygen. Not everyone does it, but when you're underpitching these yeasts anyway, and they thrive under some duress, much like my carbonation intake, then it doesn't matter. You don't have to go through that extra step.
Okay.
And then when it's fermenting, you don't have to keep it cool. I mean, there's just all of these things that are nice about these yeast strains.
And that's why they're farmhouse, right? They evolved through a lot of circumstances where people are like, we don't have gravity, we don't have pumps, we don't have chillers, we don't have,
pure oxygen aeration systems.
Yeah, glycol systems.
So if you want to ferment all this yummy sugar, you're just going to have to figure it out.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think, off camera we'll talk about more concerns. Cultural concerns.
Oh, and appropriations.
Culture. That's a good pun.
All right. Catch you later. Thanks for watching. Stick a fork in it. Holy shit. 11 minutes?